Engagement. All that is the dog's willingness to interact with you as the handler and tune out the rest of the environment, no matter what's going on in that environment. I know from experience that a lot of pet dog owners struggle with that. It's almost as if as soon as you step out into a new environment, or maybe the environment isn't that new, maybe just a little bit more stimulating now, the dog acts like you don't even exist. And you can't get your dog's attention. You can't get them to focus on you, so you can't give them any commands, and so on and so forth. There's just a huge negative cascading effect that happens that stems from your dog not giving a shit about who you are or what you stand for as soon as something more interesting is going on. So it's important, if you want to have, uh, or maybe I should say, if you want to use more positive methods of training, like using toys and treats and that sort of thing, if you want to train that way, then you're going to have super solid engagement. And also, if you want general good manners, leash manners and manners going out and about in public places or greeting people, you are also going to have good engagement. And also, good engagement will lead into reactivity training, which reactivity rehabilitation or training, whatever you want to call it, pivots off of solid engagement training. If you want to do it, right, anyways, it all starts with engagement training. So that was my long-winded way of saying that if you want to train your dog properly, you're going to need solid engagement. So in this video, I'm going to show you two of my favorite methods that I like to use to start developing solid engagement. So let's get started. So this first engagement method I'm going to show you guys is a method I like to use, or that can be used for pretty well all dogs. And the reason is because you are going to provide a lot of the stimulation. You are going to work really hard to keep the dog's engagement at first. Now, we will wean them off of that. That's part of the process with this method. But in the beginning, you are going to keep them engaged with you through movement. Movement is going to be the biggest thing you're going to be doing at this phase for this method. So let me just kind of show you what that looks like real quick. So he gives me his attention. I'm just going to start moving. Good boy. Kind of keep moving. Good. Yes. Sure you hear my different markers. Good. Good. Yes. I like to condition markers as I'm conditioning or teaching engagement. Yes. So notice how much I'm moving, and I'm keeping him engaged. So from start to finish, good. Yes. You're keeping the dog moving. Don't give them any downtime. Your movement, moving away from them, yes, making them miss food, making them chase the food, is how you keep the engagement really high. Good. Good. And whenever you're done, just grab that leash and walk on, and you're done. And that's the end of the session. Keep the sessions pretty short, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and do at least once a day. I always advocate for more, 2 or 3 times a day if possible. I understand that's not possible for everybody. But the more sessions you get in a day, the better. And one is better than none. So, but keep the sessions short and intense, 2 to 5 minutes each time. This method is good for all dogs, like I said before, but it is especially good for dogs with just kind of meh food motivation. And you compensate for that through your movement, your interaction. Your movement is what will keep the intensity and the engagement high. The driving factor for solid engagement is intensity. And the more intensity you have, the better it's going to transfer into real world scenarios as well. So Baron here, his thing is he is kind of meh food motivated, it's definitely workable as you saw, but his toy motivation is so high that the toys kind of cloud his mind. It's hard for him to learn and focus because he just gets overblown by the toys. So for a dog like him, I like to bring it down a few notches by using food instead of toys, and then use the food as more or less a game, or the chase game is kind of like a toy thing, using the food as a toy sort of. So I'm kind of bridging that gap. They're still keeping the intensity kind of high through my movement and using the food as a toy, so to speak, with the food chase games. So even if you have a dog that's extremely toy motivated, you're going to want to start with food. And even if the dog is not very food motivated, then you're going to want to use this method because you're going to compensate for that with your movement. And for a lot of dogs, it doesn't become, the engagement isn't so much about the food as it is just the interaction with you and taking whatever it is that you have in your hands out of your hand. That game itself becomes what drives them, not necessarily the food. So keep that in mind. This next method I'm going to show you, though, is very, very good for extremely food motivated dogs. So this next method I'm going to show you guys is extremely effective for very food motivated dogs. And the reason why it's especially effective for food motivated dogs is because, unlike the previous method, I am not going to work at all to keep the dog's focus and attention on me. I'm going to let them from the very beginning figure out that their attention to me gets them a reward, in this case a food reward, for now at least. And if the dog is extremely motivated or extremely reinforced for food, then they're going to really want to stick to you. If the dog is kind of meh on food, then their engagement is going to be kind of meh. And that's not what you want, ideally. Ideally, you want a dog that's really engaged with you with high intensity for, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. And so if your dog is kind of a meh food motivation sort of dog, then you're better off doing the first method, which works for basically all dogs. Even if your dog is food motivated, that method will also work extremely well. But this method is especially effective for very food motivated dogs because from the very beginning, they're learning that it's their engagement that triggers a reward. Good. What you do is whenever the dog pays attention to you, bark and reinforce them, then move away from them. Good. When they check back in with you, mark and reinforce them. Move away from them again. Good. If the dog wanders off and tries to interact with something else, let him. Good. Don't call them over. Don't try to entice them back to you in any way. Good. Just wait them out. Wait for them to come back to you. And when they do, mark and reinforce them. Good. Now, the only thing with that is you have to be careful. Good. That there's nothing else in the environment that could potentially reinforce the dog more than the food. Good. Which is another reason why this is especially effective for food motivated dogs. Good. So if you have a dog that really nothing trumps food, then you can get away with doing this in more distracting environments even from the beginning. However, I do recommend doing this in a no distraction environment for both methods at that in the beginning, and then you layer that on. We'll get into that in just a second. Good. But the name of the game is reward the dog for interacting with you. Good. And ignore them if they wander off. Good. Just make sure there's nothing else in the environment that could potentially reinforce the dog more than food is going to. Good. Good. One more thing maybe I should point out is how I am not giving Striker any commands. Good. He's doing this completely on his own, and all I'm doing is reinforcing him. There's no commands involved at all. Good. Good. I'm going to show you two things at the same time, and that is what this would look like with toys, first of all, and secondly, the step you take after the first step. Doesn't really matter if you did it through the first method or the second method with food. It doesn't really matter. You would evolve into or proceed on with this next aspect of engagement, and that is this. You're going to wait for the dog to give you their attention, and whenever they do, you're going to burst into play, whether that's with food chase games or with a toy. You're going to play with them for a while, and then you're going to take your toy or your food, and you're going to put it all away, and you're going to ignore them again. You're going to go, walk around, ignore them, wait for them to give you their attention. Whenever they're locked onto you for whatever length of time you want, mark them, start playing again. What this does is it teaches the dog that it's their action, it's their decision to engage with you that triggers the play. Once they figure that out, they're going to be all over you, especially when we start hiding the reward on you. So right now I have the toy reward in a treat pouch, and that's okay to start with. Eventually what you want to do is hide the reward on your body somewhere. And that way the dog doesn't cue in on the side of the treat pouch or the visual of the food or whatever, and instead they assume that you have a reward on you, so they give you their attention all the time, essentially, thinking that there's going to be a reward possibility. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to ignore Baron. He gives me his attention. He's very engaged. I like to wait for eye contact personally, so that's what I'm going to wait for. This is a little showcase of what I was talking about earlier, how toys are a little much for him. Yes. Good boy. Yeah, little boy. Now, there are some prerequisites to playing effectively in the context of training. Baron, out. One is the dog should be able to out whenever you ask him to, and the other is the dog should punch toys back into you. Yeah, boy, here we go. Whenever you let go of the toy, they shouldn't run off with it. So the dog should bring the toy back to you, and they should out when you ask them to. Good boy. Baron, out. Yeah. And you kind of go back and forth playing with them like that. You out them, you let them bite it, you let go of it, you run away from them. When they punch it back into you, grab that toy, you start playing again, and that's your play. If you want more information on how to teach a dog to do that, I have a video about it already on my channel. I'll put the link or whatever the hell it's called above me somewhere. Baron, out. Once you play for a little while, go back to ignoring the dog. Wait until they give you their attention for a while, whether through eye contact or just moving with you, whatever. I'm just gonna act like he doesn't exist. Once his engagement is there, yes, good boy, good boy. Start playing again. His attention triggered the play. Baron, out. Yes. Boy. Those misses can drive them crazy too. Bring that intensity up even more. Boy, go. Oh, there, boy. Come on. Right. Oh, okay. Good boy. There it is. Baron, out. Stop the play. Ignore the dog. It's also the sudden on and off. The triggering of the play, or the play, being turned on and off. That's what's going to teach them that it's the attention that triggers that. Looking at my tree pouch, ignore that. Wait for some eye contact. He still semi thinks we're in search mode, so he keeps searching the ground. But I'm just going to wait it out. Oh. And it's my mark on the eye contact. It tells him that it was the eye contact that got him the reward. It doesn't matter that the delivery was late, because the mark told him that it was the eye contact. Baron, out. Yes. Good boy. Good boy. Baron, out. One more time for good measure. Ignore the dog. I'm gonna walk off, do something else. He engages with me. I'm not asking him to heel. He don't even know heel. He just knows that sticking with me is how he gets the reward. Starting to piece that together. And at some point in time, as long as he stays engaged with me, yes, mark him, reward him. Good boy. Good boy. Out. Yes. Good boy. Baron, out. When you're done, put the toy away and pack it up. All right, so for the last demonstration of this video, I'm going to show you the same thing I just did with Baron, except with food. So it'll be with a food chase game. Second thing you may notice is that Nova is not on leash, so I'm going to talk about that. Hell, I'll talk about it right now. So if you are in an environment where it's safe for your dog to be off leash, I recommend that you do these drills off leash, at least the second method. You can do it that way, the one where you're waiting and letting the dog interact with you. If you need to put the leash on your dog in order to keep them from bailing on you, whether you're in the very beginning stages of this engagement training and you're using the first method, or you're in an environment where if they bail on you, you might lose your dog, then you're going to want to put the dog on a leash, not just a leash, but a long line. So you have some room for error there and you have an opportunity to step on the leash or do whatever you need to stop them from bailing. So that's kind of like my criteria for using a dog on or off leash. Now, we aren't completely fenced in all the way around, but I have extremely good control of Nova, so I'm not worried about losing her. So she can be off leash. So that's why she is. And the third thing you might notice is that I don't have a treat pouch this time. I have the food hidden on me. It's not that hidden. She's already smelling it, which is it's in my pocket here. But this is kind of what I was talking about a little bit with Baron in the previous demonstration about hiding the reward on you. So the dog starts to assume that you always have a reward, and they'll give you their attention more consistently that way, instead of just only giving you their attention whenever they see the treat pouch or whatever. So Nova's giving me her attention, and she maintains it. That's fantastic. I'm going to mark her, burst into play, but now with food. Yes. Same idea. Just reach into your pocket, start playing. Good girl. Move around a little bit. It's all just a fun interaction. Yes. Good girl. And then randomly shut it down. Ignore the dog. You see, she's doing pretty good on her engagement. Give me her attention. Yes. Marker. Start playing. Oh, she knows it's coming. She knows it's coming. Replay. Go, good girl. What you can also do is toss the food, have them go chase it, just like a toy. The only difference is it's food and not a toy. But the idea is the same. Yes. It's all about the interaction. The interaction and the intensity is the key to engagement, to functional engagement anyways, engagement that you want to use out in the real world. What we're doing, essentially, is we're conditioning the dog, good, to see us as a source of extreme fun and interaction. So that whenever we finally step out into the real world, they could give two shits less about anyone and everything else, because they will forever be more lame than you. That's what we're doing. But it all starts in a calm, quiet environment like this. And then we will layer on distractions eventually, which will be in the next video. So for now, focus on teaching your dog and showing your dog that you are freaking awesome, and that as long as they give you their attention, that fun and interaction, play, food, all these freaking awesome things are going to come out of nowhere. Not out of nowhere, they're going to come from you, and it's well worth their while to interact with you. And that's it. But in the next step, we'll add on distractions. Yes. Girl. Yes. Yes. One more thing I should mention. Now I have a video on this. I'll put that link somewhere above me as well for you to click on. But if you're going to do this and you want to keep your fingers, you need to hold the food a certain way. Let me show you what that looks like. I have the food in between my index finger and my middle finger, and I will hold the food down like this with my thumb. As Nova comes in and she's chomping, if I don't want her to have it, I'll keep my thumb over it. When I do want her to have it, I'll move my thumb out of the way and she'll be able to scoop it out. That way I won't lose my fingers, and also I can control when she gets reinforced. This is important for a lot of different things, but in this context, it'll help you keep the intensity really high without losing your fingers. So just to kind of showcase it, let me bring it in a little bit so they can see. I can have my thumb over it. She can't get it. When I move my thumb out of the way, she'll take it. Chasing, let her have it.